Can you still train chest and shoulders with a painful shoulder? That's what we're going to cover in today's video. I'm going to be talking about my personal experience dealing with my left rotator cuff and how I was still able to manage training chest and training shoulders. We're going to go through the pain rules. We're going to be going through different modifications to exercises and how we can still target the same muscle groups. And we're going to be going through sacrificing the ego and how to progressively load and build back up. And I'll be showing you guys what I did and the graph of my progressive loading over time. Let's begin with the pain rules, because these pain rules really helped me and to adjust my expectations and gave me a foundation to build back up. The most important thing is you don't want to be feeling pain 24, 48 hours post training. Having some pain after training that lasts several hours but then dissipates back to your baseline is acceptable. That puts us in the yellow zone where adaptation will occur. We're not going to further aggravate the tissues. But if you're doing a heavy bench press day and then your shoulder is sore and it's painful, and then 1-2 days later it's still sore and painful, that's just a little bit too high. So my general rule of thumb is a pain that's a 3 to 4 out of 10 that dissipates to your baseline in about 4 to 6 hours, or a pain that goes up 1 to 2 points out of 10 on your pain scale, again dissipating within 4 to 6 hours. If you're having that pain and it's lasting 24, 48 hours, you're just inflaming things, you're just delaying how long. This is a video from when I was bench pressing February 6th, so it's my birthday. Every year I like to retest my maxes, and I was training hard for it this year, and I was pushing because I really wanted to hit a PR. 245 was what I was only able to load up with the bar, and it was excruciatingly discomfort. I had sore shoulders, and at that point I knew I had to change my training routine because pushing through and trying to work through the pain to make it better was not working. It was going on for almost December, January, February, 3 months of trying to push through it. So at this point, when I tested it and I had a shitty rep, I knew that I had to adjust my expectations. Now we're going to be going through some various different ways I adjusted my strength training exercises, how I adjusted my bench press, how I adjusted my overhead press, my dumbbell flies. I'll just be showing the clips and then talking through them. I really enjoyed the barrel or close grip dumbbell press as a way to kind of keep dumbbell pressing. I was getting a lot of shoulder pain when my arms are 90 degrees abducted. So this was an effective way to still get some dumbbell pressing in without getting too much of that shoulder pain. So this was a really good workaround that I found for myself. A little bit more triceps, but it's still a really great exercise. The dumbbell flies, what I did was I held it in that same kind of barrel position, and it was more so of a combination of a dumbbell press. You can see as I'm bringing my arms out to the side, I'm not keeping that same bent elbow position. I'm bringing it out to the side and then I'm pressing it up. Really, it's kind of a press, kind of a fly, but again, this felt a lot better on my shoulder than the other versions. I really love the landmine, and this is just one of my foundational movements I do all the time. Again, having my arms out to the side when I was doing a dumbbell overhead press was a little bit more discomforting. So doing a landmine with it just kind of in that shoulder flexion plane where the elbow's like in that safe position towards your body was really helpful. I was able to load it up and still get the front delts going well. Lateral raises were tricky at first. I came up with these A shrugs, which I actually really like. This is definitely an upper fibers traps exercise. However, holding it in this A position, you really get your middle delts in a nice isometric hold. So you can really load them up isometrically, which was nice to get back. Now, one of the most important parts is progressive loading. Progressive reloading is a better way when we're talking about rehab. You have to put the ego aside. As you saw in the beginning video, I barely benched the 245 and I felt super shitty. I had to drop the weights. So I'm going to go through a graph that showed how I dropped my weights, where I started from, and how I built myself back up. Focusing on this middle graph, we can see my max at 235 before I retested, and then how in middle of February I dropped all the way down to 155. From February, you can see my step-by-step process of going from 155 up to 165 to 170, 175, and finally getting to in April where I was back at around 185 pounds. This graph on the right really shows February 13th and 19th where I had a pivotal moment in my mentality. My third set on February 13th, I had to drop the weight to 165 pounds to finish. And February 19th, I couldn't complete the 8 reps on 185. So I really had to change what I was doing. Now that graph just really demonstrates to me and to hopefully all of you guys that it was so much more beneficial just to start low and build my way back up, because every time I increased the weight, I was feeling better at that weight. To now, here I am doing actual bench reps back near my working volume. I'm still reloading and trying to get back to new PR weights, but here's some examples of my current. The most important part is that you still want to be able to train your muscles, your chest and your shoulders, but you have to modify how you're doing things. It does no good to be egotistical and to be pushing through it. There are different ways of how you can adjust your exercises and your training to still gain benefits and ultimately rehab and get back to full training. That being said, a little bit of pain like we talked about is okay, and it's just finding the right tolerance where it's not too high that it's going to really mess you up, or that it's so low and that you're avoiding pain that you're actually going to atrophy and do yourself a disservice. So it's really that fine balance.